The season's first 3 races have come to a close, and what an exciting race the Australian GP was. The wait for Azerbaijan seems quite unbearable now. Controversial red flags, the restart drama, is the FIA overstepping its bounds? And I'm just going to come out and say it. So far, one of the most shocking outcomes this season is Fernando Alonso's 3 podium finishes. How did Aston Martin manage to achieve such an impressive rebound from last year? And why is Red Bull so upset about it? Stay tuned to find out. Aston Martin's success in the Racing Championships has created an unexpected challenge for Red Bull's championship aspirations, causing some unease amongst the team members. What could be the reason for their discontent with the Aston Martin AMR 23? Has the car's performance exceeded their expectations, or are there underlying issues that must be addressed? Stick around to learn more about this intriguing development and its impact on Red Bull's future success in the championship. First of all, do us, F1 Racing Now, a quick favour and like and subscribe to our channel. It only takes a quick second. Thank you so much, racing fans. Okay, now before we dive into the drama, let's take a quick look at the history of Aston Martin in F1. Last year, Aston Martin had a disappointing season, finishing in 7th with only 55 points. And Aston Martin's F1 car's design has undergone significant changes in the last couple of years. In 2020, when the team was known as Racing Point, the car's design was heavily inspired by last year's championship-winning Mercedes. The car's aerodynamics, suspension, and even their air ducts were almost identical to the Mercedes W10, which caused some controversy amongst rival teams. However, the design proved successful on the track, with the team securing a podium finish in the season's first race. However, this year they've made a remarkable comeback. Through the first 3 races, they've already accumulated more points than they did over the entire season last year. This is unbelievable for Aston Martin, and it has certainly raised some eyebrows in the F1 community. Now, let's talk about the drama between Aston Martin and Red Bull. It all started when Aston Martin hired several key personnel from Red Bull's engineering department. This included their former technical director Andrew Green and their head of aerodynamics Dan Fallows. Red Bull was not happy about this, as they felt the Aston Martin was simply copying their successful design and engineering techniques. To add to their dismay, Aston Martin also hired a few of Red Bull's senior designers and engineers, which only further infuriated the team. Red Bull was determined to take legal action against Aston Martin and saw their hiring of personnel as an act of intellectual property theft. To make matters worse, Aston Martin refused to back down and instead continued to employ the personnel they had acquired from Red Bull. This only caused further tension between the two teams, and the legal battle raged on. Despite the ongoing conflict, Aston Martin still used the personnel they had hired from Red Bull, which only resulted in more strain between the two teams. There were some comments made by the Red Bull team, specifically their advisor Helmut Marko. Marko has been known to stir up controversy with his statements, and this time was no different. Helmut Marko, Red Bull's advisor, has been quite vocal about his concerns regarding Aston Martin's performance. In a recent interview, he criticised the team's new car, stating it's a copy of their car from last year. He even went as far to say that Aston Martin has hired former Red Bull employees who have taken crucial information with them to the new team, giving them an unfair advantage. Marko's comments have caused a stir in the F1 community, with many questioning the validity of his claims. Some have even accused Red Bull of sour grapes, as they're no longer the only team to challenge Mercedes for the championship. Despite the controversy, Aston Martin has defended their team's car, stating that it is developed in-house and does not use any proprietary information from other teams. Let's discuss what Christian Horner, team principal of Red Bull Racing, says about all this. He expresses his frustration about the design similarities between the Red Bull and the Aston Martin cars. Horner starts by saying that he thinks it's a compliment to Red Bull that the other teams are trying to copy their designs, but at the same time, he is not happy that Aston Martin has been able to do so with such accuracy. He points out that Red Bull has spent a lot of time and money developing their car, and they feel the Aston Martin team has copied their designs without putting in the same effort. Horner states, "We've been amazed at what's been replicated on that car. It's a bit frustrating, obviously, but it's a compliment to the team and the success we've had. The others want to try and emulate it." He goes on to say that Red Bull has lost some key members of their technical team to Aston Martin in recent years, which he believes has contributed to the similarities in design. Horner's comments highlight the tension between Red Bull and Aston Martin and suggest that the issue is not just about the performance of the cars, but also about the perceived lack of innovation and originality on Aston Martin's part. The use of similar designs in F1 is a contentious issue, as teams are always looking for a competitive advantage. Still, they also need to abide by the regulations set by the FIA. Horner also states that it is common for F1 teams to look at their competitors' designs and try to improve upon them. He mentions that Red Bull themselves have been accused of copying other teams in the past, and they've also been accused of pushing the boundaries of the rules. Horner emphasises that it is up to the FIA to decide what is legal and what is not, and the teams must accept their decisions. This is not the first time Red Bull has accused another team of copying their car design. In 2019, Red Bull team principal Christian Horner claimed that Mercedes had copied the Red Bull front wing design from their car. He pointed out that the Mercedes front wing looked almost identical to the Red Bull design, and it was suspicious that Mercedes had suddenly found a way to improve their aerodynamics in such a short time. However, the FIA quickly dismissed these accusations, stating that there was no evidence to suggest that Mercedes had copied the design. They also pointed out that it was common for teams to come up with similar designs independently, as they all had access to the same data and information. Mercedes went on to win the championship that year, proving that their car was not only fast, but also compliant with all the technical regulations. Some saw Red Bull's accusations as an attempt to distract from their team's shortcomings and lack of success on the track. Despite these accusations, Aston Martin has stated that they are confident that their car complies with all technical regulations and has nothing to hide. They believe their success is due to their hard work and dedication to improving the car. The FIA is responsible for ensuring that all teams comply with the technical regulations of F1. They have inspected Aston Martin's car and found no evidence of any breaches of regulations. However, Red Bull is not convinced and is calling for a further investigation into Aston Martin's car. Indeed, Aston Martin's impressive comeback in F1 this year has been one of the major talking points of the season so far. Despite their lackluster performances last year, the team has significantly improved their car design and performance, as evidenced by their strong finish in the Bahrain Grand Prix. While there have been accusations of copying Red Bull's previous designs, it's important to note that F1 teams have been sharing knowledge and ideas for years. In fact, some of the most significant innovations in F1 have come from cross-pollination of ideas between teams. At the end of the day, what really matters is the team's ability to perform on the track. And Aston Martin has undoubtedly shown that they have what it takes to compete at the highest level. With solid finishes in Bahrain, Saudi Arabia and Australia, the team has signalled that they are serious contenders this year, and it'll be interesting to see how they perform in the coming races. As for Red Bull, they need to focus on their own performance and development if they hope to maintain their title ambitions. Accusations of copying and disputes with other teams can be a distraction, and ultimately, the team's abilities will determine their success. In conclusion, the recent accusation made by Red Bull against Aston Martin has certainly caused a stir in the F1 community. Red Bull's claim that Aston Martin has copied their car design has been met with mixed reactions, with some dismissing the accusations as baseless, while others are calling for a thorough investigation. The FIA's initial inspection found no evidence of any breaches of regulations, but Red Bull is still calling for further investigation. Regardless of the outcome, Aston Martin's remarkable comeback this season and their impressive performance in the first 3 races cannot be denied, with Fernando Alonso taking podiums in all 3 and Lance Stroll also performing well this year. Aston Martin has shown that they are a force to be reckoned with in this year's F1 Championship. It remains to be seen how this drama between Red Bull and Aston Martin will unfold, but one thing is for sure, it has added an extra layer of excitement to the already thrilling F1 season. What are your thoughts on this? Is Aston Martin ripping off and stealing ideas from Red Bull, or is Team Red Bull just being a bunch of crybabies? Let us know what you think in the comment section below. This has been F1 Racing Now, your inside track to all things F1. We'll see you in the next one, racing fans.